We're ready to start. We are going to ask Jorge, please stop a little bit your presentation. We are having audio issues that we are going to solve.
Hello, you hear me? You hear me better now? I hope. Sorry for
Yes.
sorry for the inconvenience. Well, welcome everyone to our panel on LoRaWAN Tracking Solutions. In this panel discussion, the LoRa Alliance member companies will be presenting examples of LoRaWAN tracking use cases currently deployed around the world and how to extend the value of solutions over time. My name is Jorge Varona. I'm Vice President of Engineering at Semtech Corporation, and I'll be acting as a moderator of this panel. Our speakers today are Mr. Chris Leonard, who is Sales Director for the Americas at Microshare, Kevin Bromber, CEO at myDevices, and Olivier Hersent, who is CEO and CTO at Actility Abway. I will appreciate that you can send your questions through the chat tool so that our speakers can answer some of them at the end of their presentations. As a means of introduction to our discussion, I would like to provide a very brief overview of the LoRaWAN protocol and its characteristics. As many of you already know, LoRaWAN is an open source, low power wide area network. Low power wide area networking protocol designed to meet the Internet of Things connectivity requirements, and which is maintained by the LoRa Alliance. It's a non-for-profit organization with more than 500 members today. LoRaWAN has already become the de facto or most widely used protocol for LPWAN in the world, with over 143 public network operators in more than 161 countries, plus many more private networks practically everywhere. The LoRaWAN ecosystem is actually a very rich ecosystem that offers a wide range of products and services that enable the quick assembly and deployment of a complete IoT solution. So you can see we have from chipsets and module devices, gateway, network services providers, operators, system integrators, and so forth. It's very easy to assemble a full IoT solution. There are over 100 million LoRaWAN connected devices in a variety of use cases distributed in 6 verticals. We have a smart cities, we have applications in utilities, smart agriculture, smart buildings. We have a lot of applications in industry 4.0, asset tracking, and so forth. Today, these are basically the key characteristics and differentiators of LoRaWAN. We can mention, for instance, we can because of this is being an open source and able to operate in unlicensed bands. It's very easy to deploy either public or private networks. It is possible to do firmware updates over the air, which enables the update of all the devices already deployed on the field without needing to go and retrieve each one of them physically. we can do everything over the network. There is the capability to do geolocation directly from the network without GPS assistance. There is bidirectionality and 2 layers of encryption, so security is very important and is being designed from the beginning as part of the LoRaWAN protocol. As we mentioned, it's one of the characteristics of the technology. It's very low power consumption and therefore the ability to operate on batteries for many years. Very good coverage, and actually it's very complementary in many cases to existing cellular networks, because we can provide connectivity through LoRa in very remote areas and rural areas. And it has very good penetration. Having said that, I will pass the voice to our first panelist, Leonard from Microshare.
Bueno, buenos días. Gracias, Jorge. Buenos días, gracias por su tiempo. Mi nombre es Leonard, soy representante de Microshare aquí en Filadelfia. En Microshare tenemos una plataforma de IoT Data y también un catálogo de más que 20 soluciones en Smart Facilities. Trabajamos en casi todas partes del mundo con implementaciones en Asia, Norteamericana, Europa y África. Y en el fin del año vamos a tener instalaciones en México, Panamá, Argentina y Brasil, en Sudamérica. Tenemos verticales en Corporate Real Estate y Facility Services, donde tenemos implementaciones en oficinas, hospitales, fabricación y también en educación, más en universidades. Tenemos una inversión importantísima en LoRa y LoRaWAN y brindamos soluciones con socios globales como Microsoft, LoRa Alliance, Semtech, Rackspace, Insight Enterprises, para armar soluciones con instalación, aplicaciones, IoT Data Platform con Microshare y Data Science. Bueno, quería compartir unas informaciones a ustedes hoy que tiene que ver con cómo es para establecer y mantener momentum y valor, información que nos ayuda a nosotros en Microshare y posiblemente van a ayudar a ustedes también. Bueno, Jorge, la próxima, por favor. Yeah, we can go to the next. Muy bien. Bueno, para nosotros, lo más importante es escalar. Es asset tracking at scale. Obviamente, una implementación en un lugarcito con un asset tracking no es muy difícil, pero la adopción en todo el enterprise, en todas partes, en todos los edificios, en todo el mundo es un poco más intenso y un poco más complicado. Usamos LoRa por eso, porque especialmente cuando hay una infraestructura complicada, LoRa está buenísima. Podemos desplegar rápidamente y configurar local, evitamos conexión con IT y no usamos Wi-Fi, obviamente, y podemos brindar los datos para hacer impacto rápidamente. En Microshare tenemos aplicación amplia en minería, fabricación, hospitales y oficinas, como le dije, para hacer tracking de equipo, para ahorrar y eficaz de saber dónde está un activo. Y también podemos hacer tracking con gente. Este es más en el lugar de contact tracing, que tiene relevancia en coronavirus para saber dónde está y con quién trabajan los empleados. Y también cuando hablamos de scale, en el fin del 2020 vamos a tener en Microshare más que 10,000 dispositivos para hacer tracking en varios lugares en el mundo. Bueno, Jorge, gracias. Quería hablar con ustedes hoy de, cuando hablamos de cómo es para mantener y establecer y mantener momentum, normalmente es muy útil para nosotros de evitar un proof of concept, un prueba de concepto. Normalmente, prueba de concepto, como conocen ustedes, es para probar, demostrar al cliente que la tecnología funciona. Pero bueno, si LoRa tiene aplicaciones en todas partes del mundo, literalmente la tecnología funciona, the technology works. Lo más difícil para los clientes es adopción. Y con eso queremos ayudar a ellos porque si no podemos ayudar con eso, con la implementación, adaptación adentro de la enterprise, vamos a tener un problema para crecer la implementación. Y para confirmar valor, vamos a enfocar en tecnología, datos y procesos. Y procesos normalmente tienen que ver con gente y también integraciones. Bueno, la próxima, por favor. Gracias. Ups. No, número 6, sí. Como hablábamos, hay uno, can we go back one more? Sí, bueno, y seguimos. Gracias. Bueno, un proof of value, como hablábamos, no es para confirmar la tecnología. The technology works. Es más para, bueno, importantísimo evitar un science experiment. Y también sabemos que un prueba de concepto normalmente es el cementerio de innovación. Es un lugar donde hacemos algo que no tiene en cuenta todos los aspectos para crecer con una implementación. Entonces, la pregunta muchas veces es cómo adaptar y hacer accionable los datos adentro del ecosistema del cliente enterprise para realizar el retorno de inversión. Y cuando empezamos con ellos, normalmente tenemos que preguntar al cliente cuál es el éxito definido por el cliente. No solamente con la tecnología, pero con las otras cosas, con los datos y procesos e integraciones. Entonces, no es solamente para tener tecnología y data, es mejor este drive in action. ¿Qué es la acción que quiere el cliente que normalmente no existía antes? Bueno, seguimos. Cuando empezamos normalmente es para hacer una criteria para tener comprensión de los modelos de los datos y también anomalías globales. Entonces, intentamos probar con más de un local. Tener un foco de una amplia adopción del usuario. Asegurar que estamos con focos con cambios de proceso y workflow, dueño del proyecto y empezar a armar informes de data globales. Bueno, es eso. Estoy disponible para preguntas hoy en la sesión, pero también antes van a tener mis datos de contacto. Por favor, contactame y podemos hablar un poco más de eso y las soluciones de Microshare. Gracias, gente. Muchísimas gracias. Buen día.
Hello, everyone. This is Kevin Bromber from myDevices, CEO and founder. So let me give you a little bit of background about myDevices. What we provide is white label, plug and play solutions, turnkey solutions for carriers, network operators, MSPs, VARs, and system integrators. And today I'm going to talk about a deployment that we've done, or one of our customers has done in a 1,000-room hotel in New York City that does asset tracking of human beings. Go ahead and go to the next slide, please. But before we jump into that, I'll give you a little bit of background on myDevices and how we think of the world. So the way we look at the world is to make things as easy as possible in IoT. Our mission from the beginning has been to simplify the connected world. And our strategy has been to enable channel partners to deploy commercial-ready solutions. So we don't actually sell to the end customers, but our customers like T-Mobile, Sodexo, NG, these types of customers, they're the ones who are selling and deploying our finished solutions to the end customer. And what makes us different is that we've got hundreds of pre-provisioned plug-and-play sensors and solutions that you can easily mix and match from any manufacturer, and they can deploy them either in our platform or actually in their own platform. Next slide, please. And the reason that it's important to have an infinite number of sensors from different manufacturers is that the end customers themselves, they have typically more than one problem. If you have a hotel or a university or facility, you know, they may need to do temperature monitoring in the refrigerators. They might need to be doing asset tracking for security reasons or for high value items, things like that. And what they don't want to do is go get 50 different platforms to solve 50 different problems. It's just a non-scalable, way to do that. So you need to be able to mix and match. And the beauty of LoRa and LoRaWAN is that once you have your gateways and your connectivity in, so let's say you have your Actility gateways in there, you can now add sensors all around to solve many different problems. Next slide, please. And the goal for us is, again, make things as easy as possible, not just easy to get sensors and solutions deployed, but making it possible so that our partners can brand the solutions as their own, they can sell to their existing customers, and then they can go and generate new monthly recurring revenue. Next slide, please. And just to kind of show, in the last 12 months, there's been some deployments at some pretty significant corporations and enterprise around the world, hospitals, hotels, food service, so places like Marriott's and Hilton's and St. Luke's, Kaiser Permanente, places like that. Next slide, please. But more specifically on asset tracking, there's a product we have called Push and Protect. And what that's for is it helps hotels, hospitals, school campuses, facilities provide a safer environment for their staff by providing them with a wearable panic button that they can use to alert their security in case of an emergency. And what happens is when the button is pushed, you can actually locate that human being at the room and floor level, and you can see them moving inside of the facility. So outdoor GPS is well known, it's easy to do, but indoor is not so easy to do, especially as you start to get into very constrained environments like the deployment that was in New York City. In fact, they had a Wi-Fi panic button technology and it didn't work in the stairwells, and the union came in and told them to rip it out. They contacted one of our partners and they deployed our solution. Go ahead and go to the next slide, please. And what you're going to see in the next slide, it's hard to see here, but these all represent different floors of the hotel. So that little right angle L, I guess, so you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, whatever that is, but all those blue dots represent the individual rooms. And then you have stairwells. And one of the problems that they had inside the stairwells is that when a panic button was pushed, it gave a false positive and said that the person was actually in a floor in a room, but wasn't actually in the stairwell. And so they had all these floor hopping issues, and they had all these range issues where it wasn't reaching inside of basements, it wasn't reaching in what they call the dead zones. And with LoRa, the beautiful thing about it is it has that deep penetration, but then we could also pair it with the BLE, and we combined that with some algorithms that we provide. I think we actually now call it a stairwell algorithm that provides the accuracy so you don't get that floor hopping. So the beautiful thing about this is now that they have the gateways in there and the connectivity inside, they are starting to add additional solutions and sensors to their existing system. So if you guys are interested in learning more about this, feel free to reach out to me, and I will now turn it over to the next panelist, Olivier.
Sorry, Olivier, we can't hear you.
Oops, sorry. Yeah,
There you are.
Sorry, I was on mute. If you can move to the next slide, please. Sorry, I was on mute. That's why you couldn't hear me. Okay, so Actility has a specialty in large-scale networks. We power about 50 nationwide service providers worldwide. In aggregate, we have over 1 million devices being managed on the platform. As part of the Actility group, and today's we're talking about geolocation, we have a company called Abiway. Last year, we sold and deployed about 150,000 trackers The ones that you see on the picture here are dedicated badges that we have for people tracking and COVID proximity management, but we have all sorts of industrial trackers, also the ones that you see on the left. If you move to the next slide. So can you go to, yes. As previous speakers emphasized, LoRa is really great to cover large buildings. The reason is that all the antennas overlap with each other. If you have a dead zone in one corner, you can add a gateway, and all of this works with mobile assets and particularly people. Many of you in the industrial space know already mesh solutions like Wireless Heart. All these solutions work with really very static assets because you need to optimize the mesh network for every condition, and they do not work at all with mobile assets or outdoors. And this is really what's great with LoRa. You now have a solution that works indoor and outdoor and also with mobile assets. And I think this is this big versatility of LoRa that is the reason for the success. In terms of use cases, in the next slide, some of those were described. It's really very, very wide now. There is a huge ecosystem. If you go to our marketplace, you'll see over 1,000 devices now. The most effective use cases are wiring replacement, like replacing Modbus sensors, for instance, but it goes all the way to very, very sophisticated sensors, like those with edge intelligence, doing vibration monitoring. It's on the next slide. So these sensors have really local intelligence to analyze vibrations locally, find out any strange behavior, and then report that to the cloud. So all of this is part of the same ecosystem running on the same network. Today, I want to focus on the next slide on the importance of data integration. You will get this value only in a fully open world. There is no best solution or best sensor or best app for anything. So it's very important to integrate with all the leading IoT platforms. We are integrated, for instance, with myDevices. Kevin was just speaking. And there are many leading platforms out there. I want to outline how easy it is and how important it is to fully integrate these platforms. With the ThinkPark platform that we propose, the data will arrive already completely decoded. So you don't need to deal with the binary format of devices, which is very dynamic, from generation to generation. Usually they will modify it. In the case of Azure, in literally one click, you get integrated with their cloud. And if you move to the next slide, this gets you into Microsoft, what they call Iot Central. Iot Central has predefined templates for devices. In that case, the tiny tracker bottom left is Abiway Micro Tracker. If you click on that tiny tracker, it comes bundled with what they call templates. And there you go, immediately, in literally 2 clicks, you get to a dashboard in Microsoft Azure. From there, you have a PowerPoint style tool that allows you to drag and drop widgets and do your own system. So that's when you're in the Microsoft world. If you're in the AWS world, this is the next slide. We've been working a lot with AWS. Actually, there is a webinar with AWS in about 1 month showing all these solutions and integration with AWS IoT. And I want just to show it in one example on the next slide. This is the actual infrastructure that we've put in place for Volvo. It's a one-click deployment through what Amazon calls CFT, Cloud Formation Template. So this asks you a few parameters and then deploys the full AWS IoT infrastructure. So with Volvo, it's a factory where this was their leading factory with 70 trucks per day. And they had to follow the trucks throughout the fabrication of the truck in the factory and also outside in the parking space, because each and every truck is different. If you move on the next slide. So the solution was deployed, as you can see in the small pictures here, inside the factory chain. They put a tracker per truck. And then as the truck is parked outside, they can easily find the truck from these maps. The ROI was very fast, just eliminating research time on the parking lot and also making sure that they would never mix up one truck with another. So that's one of the many examples where all these 100,000 trackers have been deployed. If you want to watch a video on this Volvo use case presented by Volvo themselves, here it is. If you want to try our platform for free, you have a URL called community.thinkpark.com. Everything is free. Just put your base station and that's it. And for a feel of the diversity of solutions, I encourage you to visit market.thinkpark.com, which is a marketplace where you have all LoRaWAN solutions and devices ready for consumption. Thanks a lot.
Well, thank you. I think given the time constraint, we may have time for just maybe one question for each one of you. I have here a question that for Microshare. The question is, once a network is installed in the facility, how we can add solutions to increase the value that way, Chris?
Muy bien. Bueno, LoRa hace muy fácil para agregar soluciones porque un red de LoRa tiene un montón de dispositivos y sensores disponibles para expandir engagements en clientes. La pregunta principal es, ¿qué son los problemas del cliente para resolver con LoRa? Si no hay un problema, no hay funding para el problema para resolver. Entonces, buscamos nosotros, cuando estamos con una solución, la primera, vamos a buscar más problemas para resolver con LoRa.
Thank you. Muchas gracias, Chris. Now, the following question is for Actility. It's how to organize for logistics across different organizations with separate networks. In other words, once a company has different LoRaWAN networks, how do we do to collaborate between or among the networks?
Yeah, that is one of the challenges for LoRa, because you have this collection of private networks. You know, for instance, one private network for each warehouse, but they will have assets that move from warehouse to warehouse. So for that, the LoRa Alliance has developed roaming, and there is a roaming protocol that works between LoRa networks. And we have deployed a roaming hub. So you can connect your private networks to that roaming hub. And just by enabling communication between one warehouse and your other partners, it might be suppliers, it might be logistics partners, you can share the position of trackers or other moving devices across partners. You can also roam and share networks with public networks. So that's all allowed by LoRa, which has this great innovation of being able to combine private networks and combine private and public networks.
Thanks a lot, Olivier. I think we have another question here. Kevin, I think you can help us with this one. It's related to probably some customer testimonials, or how this technology can be addressing situations such as COVID-19 today, how to help people getting back to work, getting back to the workplace somehow.
Yeah, so there's quite a few. Contact tracing is, I think, maybe the obvious one that people might think about. Though there seems to be some privacy issues that are popping up, so a lot of interest in it initially, but we're finding that when it gets to privacy, sometimes there's a bit of a pause. There's people counting, so there's the wireless sensors that can count how many people are going into a facility. That seems to be an important one. There is UVC sensing. So for example, UVC sensors and robots that get deployed that put the lights out, but they want to make sure they're actually working. So there's sensors on it. There's indoor air quality. There's really quite a good number of COVID solutions that are out there that are deployable, ready to sell today.
Thank you so much. Well, I think we're just about to finish. I thank everybody for attending. And as it's been said before, we have the email addresses of the panelists, and questions can be addressed directly or through the organizing committee of IoT Novatech, and we will be happy to answer your questions offline. Thank you, everybody.
Gracias, hasta luego.
Gracias.